Hello, it's Bailey and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here to bring you my February wrap up. I messed with the lighting for quite a while before starting this and I think this is the best it's gonna get. So it's just what we're working with today. But I did like how I did my wrap up for January, so I think this is going to be very similar to that. I'm going to use the same kind of like format for sharing my stats, my books, and what I've bought. So firstly, we're going to jump into what I bought in the month of February. I did state in my January wrap up that I'm trying to spend less than $1,000 on books this year. And I did do worse in February than I did in January, but you'll see why. So in February, I spent $177.82 on books and bookish things. And so right off the bat, I'm going to share the subscriptions that I subscribe to that are book related, and this is why my February was larger than my January. Basically, I renewed my Kindle Unlimited subscription in the month of February. There was a book that I wanted to read that was available on KU, and I saw that I could renew for 6 months for $30. So I spent $30 to renew my Kindle Unlimited subscription. I also, once again, paid $16 for an Audible credit, and I pay $10.69 for my Scribd account. Next, I'm going to share my book of the month box. I did get 2 books in the month of February. So firstly, I got, for my pick for the month, I got Don't Cry For Me by Daniel Black. And then as an add-on, because this is going to be a Shelf This Book Club pick, I picked up If Only I Could Tell You by Hannah Beckerman. This is going to be the pick next month in April, and it was picked by Sarah from Sarah's Shelves. And my book of the month box with the 2 books was $26.73. I have 1 book that I purchased off Amazon and paid, like, you know, full price for. It was a new book, and that was Jade City by Fonda Lee. And I paid $15.40 for this. And everything else that I acquired in the month of February was from the ever famous Buy Sell Trade Facebook group that I joined in January. So I bought quite a few things on that. So the rest of these books are all used copies that I think I got a pretty good deal on. I'm still going to share them in order of most expensive to least expensive. So the most expensive thing I got, because it's a box set, is I did purchase the A Court of Thorns and Roses, like the first 4 book box set. This was still sealed when I bought it, but I did open it because I'm gonna read these. Like, I'm not trying to keep them pristine. I bought these to read because I do have like the original hardcovers that are selling for like a ton of money at this point. So I don't want to get rid of them, but I do have a sense of like, don't ruin those copies, they're worth something now. So I spent $45 for this box set. Then for $11 I picked up The Simple Wild by K.A. Tucker. I do have the second book that I plan on reading. I have already read this one. I do like to purchase books that I have previously read and loved, and especially finding it secondhand, I was like, yep, that belongs on my shelf, so I picked this up. It was $11. For $8 I picked up A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness. I am reading this for the Bookstara read-alongs. They're reading the first book in March, so I'm going to be starting this month anyway. So when I saw it, I picked it up. Spoiler alert, in the month of March I have already picked up the second 2 books as well, but that will be next month's haul. Also at $8 I got The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood, and I did already read this month. If you saw my 5-star picks my TBR, Adriana read this, and so I read it for that video. When I saw it at $8 I couldn't pass it up. And lastly, for $7 in a book I also read this month, I picked up Know My Name by Chanel Miller. So that is every bookish thing I spent money on in the month of February, and now I would like to jump into my stats for the month. So in February I did read 12 books. You'll see shortly 4 of those were DNFs, but 12 books, which was 43 hours of physical reading time and 2,642 pages. My reading speed in terms of pages per hour was 61.4 pages per hour, and I also listened to 31 hours of audiobooks. I read 4 physical books, 4 ebooks, and 4 audiobooks. 7 of these books I previously owned, 2 of them I acquired during the month, and then I had 1 that I read from KU, 1 that I got from the library, and 1 that was an art. I had 11 adult and 1 YA, so a very adult heavy month, and 33% of these books were by authors of color. For years published, I had 1 2022 release, which was the ARC that I read. Then I had 3 that were recent backlists being published in 2020 or 2021, 7 published between the year 2010 and 2019, and 1 published before 2010. In terms of genre, I had 3 fantasies, 2 romance, 2 mystery, 2 sci-fi, and then 1 each of nonfiction, contemporary, and historical. So in terms of my ratings, as I mentioned before, I did DNF 4 books in the month of February, but other than that, I had really high ratings. I had a lot of 5 stars this month. So I had 1 3-star, 3 4-stars, and actually 4 5-star books, which is amazing. That made my average rating for the month 4.27, which is really high for me. So now I'm going to share the books with you. I'm going to go in my usual order. I go from least favorite to most favorite. So starting with my DNFs, I DNF'd The Sword of Kaigan by M.L. Wong, as well as Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. Those were both mentioned in my 5-star picks by TBR for January. Which was reading books that Sid from Sid Bookworm rated 5 stars, and sadly I wasn't enjoying either of those. I also DNF'd the ARC that I was reading, which was How to Be a Wallflower by Eloisa James, and I DNF'd Valentine by Elizabeth Wetmore. So getting into my 3-star book, which is actually the only book that I tabbed in the month, and this will be a book I'm getting rid of because I only gave it 3 stars, and it's Anxious People by Frederick Bachmann. I love Frederick Bachmann, but the plot of this just seemed kind of messy to me. I didn't like that it was kind of purposefully all over the place. I did buddy read this with Kayla. There are some aspects of this that I loved, and I think this book is very quotable, which is why I did tab it, but the storyline itself just didn't really have me. Then actually all of my 4 stars were rereads, starting with the one that I spun on my spinner for my random reread for February, which was The Woman in Cabin 10. I honestly thought I wasn't going to enjoy this one as much the second time around, but I did, and I'm giving it 4 stars. The first time I did give it 5 stars, I did bump it down to 4 stars, but I still think it's a solid thriller. A lot of people really don't like this, but I've liked it twice now. Then in like one afternoon, because there was a live show I wanted to watch, which was Beth from Beth's All Booked, her book club, the Dead Red Book Club, was reading this month. And so just that day and that afternoon, I quickly re-listened to Verity by Colleen Hoover, and this also was, I think it was a 4-star the first time and a 4-star this time, so my rating didn't change on this. And I gave 4 stars to Catching Fire by Suzanne Collins. I do think I left my Goodreads rating as a 5-star because I've reread this multiple times. This time, for some reason, it just didn't quite hit as hard. So this time, my rating would be a 4-star. I think technically it was a 4.5. But yeah, I'm enjoying my reread of this series. Now, my 5-star books, starting with Jade City by Fonda Lee. I was so excited that I actually enjoyed this one because I did want to get back into fantasy this year, and I read quite a few at the beginning of the year here that just weren't working for me. So I was like, maybe I'm not ready to jump back into the genre. But then I read this and absolutely loved it. If you haven't read Jade City, I definitely recommend it. These are chunky books, so it did take me quite a bit of time, but this first book just really focuses on like character development and like learning the world and the people. And I've heard that the second book really dives more into like action-y type stuff, so this one I really loved. I'm a little bit nervous for Jade War because I like a smaller world, I guess, and I know that in Jade War the world's just gonna like explode kind of, but this one did get a 5-star. Then another buddy read with Kayla, we read The Martian by Andy Weir. We started this during the Escape for 24 Hours readathon this month, but didn't finish. We finished shortly after, and this book is basically about potato farming, and that's all. That's a joke. It's about a guy who gets stuck on Mars. It's very good. You should read it. Then my nonfiction for the month, and even though I did acquire this, I did listen to the audiobook for this book because Chanel Miller reads it herself. I read Know My Name by Chanel Miller, and she was the victim in the infamous Brock Turner case. And so I did really enjoy her perspective in this book. She not only talks about her case and her sexual assault, but also just a lot of talk about how victims are treated in general and I thought it was very well done. I really enjoyed this one. The fan on my heater in the other room just turned on, and I'm hoping you can't hear it because I only have one more book to talk about, which was my favorite book of the month, and that was Her Night with the Duke by Diana Quincy, which again, I'm so excited to say I loved this one because I haven't had a 5-star historical romance in a while, and this one just really worked for me. I loved in this one that it starts with a one-night stand, so like right away we're getting into the nitty-gritty. Basically, our main female character is a widow. She was married to like a much older man, and she has these stepchildren that are very close to her in age. So she has a one-night stand with this man, and she knows after the fact, like as they're parting, that he is to be betrothed like very soon to somebody. And so she travels back home and soon finds out that who he is to be betrothed to is her stepdaughter. So they had this one-night stand, and now he's going to be marrying her stepdaughter, and it kind of goes from there. I thought it was very well done, and this also has Arab representation in it, which I very much appreciated. It's hard to find diversity in historical romance a lot of the time, so when I can find one, I'm going to jump on it. I also just want to mention the guy on this cover is a no for me. It's a no for me, but it's fine. So that was my month of February. I hope you enjoyed this video, seeing all my stats, thoughts, and feelings. But thank you so much for spending some time with me today, and I will see you again very soon. Bye!